Do you find yourself searching, yearning for more, but you don't know what that more is? I'm Catherine Duncan, near-death survivor, mystic, and intuitive. Welcome to Everyday Awakening. On this podcast, I explore what it means to be alive. I help you awaken into your soul and live fully now. Through inspiring conversations, we'll dive into mindfulness, spirituality, and the transformative power of presence and living aligned with this universal energy. Together, we'll examine life's biggest questions, and I'll share practical wisdom to help you open your heart and awaken to the preciousness of being alive. Today, I'm excited to share with you my conversation with Deirdre Abrami. Deirdre Abrami is a sixth-generation psychic intuitive, channeler, and speaker. Her spiritual journey began after surviving a life-threatening brain aneurysm, which awakened her innate intuitive gifts and transformed her life's purpose. During her recovery, Deirdre received a divine message to practice 21 days of a white light visualization, guiding her to see herself fully healed. This practice revealed the interconnectedness of mind, body, and soul, and learning how to live a balanced and abundant life. Welcome to the show, Deirdre.
Oh, thank you so much, Catherine, for having me here.
It's so wonderful to meet you. I feel such a resonance with you because I faced dying at 11 years old, which cracked me open and awakened me to what it means to be alive when I was a young child.
Especially 11. My goodness.
Can you tell us more about surviving this brain aneurysm and the divine message you received? Love to hear.
Yes, well, just a little background. I do come from 6 generations of psychics, but let me tell you, I did not embrace my abilities. I can tell you when I was little, during holiday gatherings, let's say it's Thanksgiving, I remember my great grandparents saying, "Ooh, she's one of us, she's gifted." And my father, who is more of a born again, frowned upon anything psychic. So he'd be like, "No," and he pushed me away and say, "Ignore what they had to say." But I always knew I had this ability, but because of my father, it was very confusing. I wasn't embracing it because he would tell me things like, now I roll my eyes about it, but if you talk to your guides or anybody, you're going to burn in hell and things like that. So I learned very early on, so I struggled with that because I could feel things, see things, and know things, but I pushed it to the side. So I did what most people at that time wanted me to do, meaning my family and community, was go to college, get the corporate job, and that's what I did. I followed along what everybody else wanted me to do. So here I am, I'm delivering my second child, and it went pretty well, but all of a sudden I had this thumping headache I couldn't get rid of. Long story short, I was released to go home and it was not going away. My OB said, "Go back to the hospital. Let's do some more checks." So when that happened, they found through a CAT scan that then they did an MRI, MRAs, and they found a brain aneurysm. So at this point, I have a 14-month-old. I can't even lift my head. And I also I had double vision, lost vision in my right eye. And so I didn't know what was going to happen. And so here I am. They ran all these tests and I'm laughing to myself because I remember like it was yesterday when I had a neurologist, a neurosurgeon, they're lining up like car salesmen. One was going through my skull. The other one's trying to sell me an angiogram. And here, when you can't, it's one thing if it's your foot or your hand, but when it's your head, you can't concentrate. But I will say this, as they're getting ready to push me in to do an angiogram, and if anybody has ever had one, it's a little I think ignorance is bliss because they strap you to a board. And if you even sneeze, you're dead. So as they're getting ready to push me in, my psychic grandma comes to me and whispers in my ear, right? She's like, "Hold on." And she whispers in my ear and says, does one of these to me. She's like 4 foot nothing, doing one of these, says, "You need to snap out of this. It's time for you to tap into your abilities and heal yourself. Do you want somebody else raising those 2 kids?" And while I'm under, because they don't put you under because when they go through the angiogram and they go from your neck until your skull, you have to be awake. So while I'm there, I kind of went in an altered state. And I can't tell you what exactly happened other than I had this feeling of I'm okay and I'm going to survive this. And something about being a mom too, like I felt like a tiger with its cubs. Like I just was like, you know what? She's right. I was finally released home. I was there a month and I finally started to see a doctor in New York, and I live in Florida. And I could tell you a couple of months going down the road, one night I was in the shower and I felt this presence of this, I can't explain it. It was just this unconditional love. And I felt this white light going into my brain. And they showed me as though I was kind of teleporting, looking at in a doctor's office, looking at a what an MRI report would look like if when the doctor showed you and pointing to the aneurysm. But this light that came from heaven went into where the brain aneurysm was and started to erase it. And every night, because 10 o'clock at night was the time everybody's sleeping, and I get to like go, to be by myself for a second. So every night I started to look forward, and I didn't tell anybody, by the way. I didn't tell one person because I was embarrassed or I didn't know what I was going through. Am I imagining this? I was very private about all this. And then, so every night I looked forward to this. And again, it just felt unconditional love and this light that came and, whatever it was doing. So finally, the 21st day, that night, this voice said, it's done. Okay, whatever that means, and went on my merry way. And funny enough, the doctor in New York this time said, you don't have to fly up here. Let's just overnight, because that was before digital, overnight the films. I could. So I did. 2 weeks later, I get a call from his office that they said to me, it's so small, we can't find it. And you have to understand, this took about a year and a half, I'm not going to lie, and through the meditation and 12 MRIs and MRAs. And so I wish I could say it was miraculous and it happened in a month. It didn't. It was a year and a half of really being on a journey that catapulted me. And at the same time this was going on, I started to seek out what is it to be intuitive. I started to see like medical intuitives. I was like just open to anything. And once that happened, boom, like you said, what did you say? It cracked you open?
Yep.
And so that's really where the journey really began.
And I just think your story is so fascinating how, yes, sixth generation and it's in your family and a sense of it, but then the other part of your family saying, no, don't look that way. Confusing messages.
Very much so. That's why it probably took me as long as it did. It was in my 30s. And people always say, well, you're a psychic because you're family. And I said, well, I thought it was a hinder because let's say that I want to start learning tennis and my cousin or my aunt is Serena Williams. Well, that's what happened to me. Once I started to embrace it, I wish I could say, boom. I was like instantly, seeing and feeling because my family, I come from aunts and grandparents and great grandparents who are healers, mediums, you name it, every kind of intuitive possible, but they've been embracing it since birth. I could probably tell you that, yeah, my own self-esteem at the time was probably holding myself back.
And I think because I'm also a mystic and intuitive, I see spirits every day. I see angels. I do think, I'm curious your thought on this, but I think we have a choice. We have a choice to open. We have a choice to shut it down. So there is a personal element of choosing it. But and I had a similar experience, I'll say, when I was 11 years old, facing possibly dying, going through a really grave cancer diagnosis, and no one talked to me about what was happening. And faith had meant nothing, but I just out of nowhere started to pray. It just came to me, just pray to live. And I was praying, could I please live to be 20 years old? And not long after, this feeling poured through my body, a knowing I was going to live and a knowing I wasn't alone.
And you don't come from a religious family?
We Lutheran background was my childhood. Intermittently would go to church, but my family more corporate. I mean, never talked about feelings or faith or anything. So now that everything's opened up widely and I am a mystic and intuitive, my corporate family's like, wow.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, yeah. But would you agree that there's a choice for people? I mean, I think we all have gifts. If it's clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, when we're in the moment and we can open into, but we can also choose to open it, to close it. What do you think of that? Do you think we have a choice?
1,000%. I feel we're all born intuitive. I do. And
Yeah.
then, because people will say, well, what's the difference between psychic and intuitive? Well, how I look at it
Hmm.
is we're all born intuitive, meaning how does a lion know how to hunt? Then I do feel psychic abilities can also be like going to the gym or let's say playing tennis. I was on the Serena Williams thing where you can learn to hone it in more and practice it with proper training and practice, you can get better at it. Depending on who you are, I think will depend on what kind of psychic abilities that may be more your forte, we'll say. You know, because like I don't advertise myself as a medium. I'm not that, I don't really want to talk to dead people all day. But my family, oh my goodness, they could talk to them all day long. You know, I prefer angel spirit guides, higher light beings. Yeah, that's my forte. But I do agree that yeah, and by the way, anybody watching this, you don't have to have a brain aneurysm or cancer. I also look at it us as like radios. You have the on button, the off button, tuner button, who do you want to talk to, and the volume. So if you want to talk to, you know, connect with spirit, consciousness, the universe, turn it on and then play around with the tuner button. See what kind of channel, station you can tune into. And if you had enough, you hit off.
No, I agree with that. And I also agree. Every one of us has abilities. If it's more hearing, sensing, feeling, but it's in the moment. It's not when we're in our busy mind. And I love your idea of turning it on and off because I went through periods of for years I was a hospice chaplain, and many patients would come and see me within days after they died, and I was just like, zoom, I'd open up my eyes, and there they would be looking at me, kind of nodding and be gone. But I ended up having to put a boundary, like you cannot come within 20 feet of me and wake me up is like too much.
You know, it's funny you said that because in the beginning, when I was reopening myself up, they would talk to me in the middle of the night. And my grandmother always said, she's like I said, she was a very bossy person. She's like, well, tell them that they need to come during the day when you're, you know, and don't spook you at night, you know, and it worked. And also, I found that if I talk to them during the day and I take time, like in the morning, I'll play some meditation music and I meditate. And then I'm really kind of tuned into their vibration. They're not waking me up at 3 in the morning.
Did you find as your abilities opened, you went through some bumpy days, or I mean, and just I guess probably I'm sensing learning how to turn it on, how to turn it off, because that's something I learned. I mean, I've been told, yes, you can be a medium. Like, no, I don't want to be a medium. I don't want to channel, but I want to channel God's love and light. That's it. But did you have some bumpy days as you started coming into your gifts?
1,000%. Back in those days, after, so now I healed myself. Now I'm like, what next? And I used to, my dear grandmother, she lived 20 minutes from me, and she'd be like, okay, I'm going to start training you now. Okay, now what? She's like, close your eyes. Okay. Now what? It wasn't working. Then she would give me these books off her shelf that literally were like 300 years old. That I didn't understand these
You
channels.
lucky duck. I mean,
I know. See, I didn't know how lucky I was. Like there was something called Spiritism and Allan Kardec, and these books are written in the 1600s, and I'm like getting the dust off of it because there was no Amazon. And it comes tomorrow. So I heard one day go to a bookstore. So I got because I couldn't drive for 6 months because I couldn't see. So I had my psychic aunt drop me off at the bookstore. But you have to understand, I didn't want anybody to know I was psychic. So here I am, like a hat, like I was a private eye going into the bookstore. Like I'd hope, and I had, where's the metaphysicals? You know, like one of those. Like, oh my God, I hope I don't run into a neighbor. I swear to you. And this bookstore by us is like 2 stories big. So I go up there and I look around and I'm like, oh my God, there are like hundreds of books. I don't even know where to start. So I'll be honest. I was like, all right, if you want me to do this kind of work like my family, you better, I'm leaving. You got 2 minutes. I swear to you. All of a sudden I heard boom, and I look and there's a book on the ground. No freaking way. I pick up the book and it was Healing with Your Angels. And I was like, what is this? Healing with Angels. And then I look over and the author was a psychiatrist who had like a life-threatening, no, she had near death, whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I said, all right, if this book's for me, prove it to me. So I thought of a question. I opened the book random. Of course it answered it. I did it 4 times, bought the book. And then ever since then, it was like, boom, because the only thing I knew about angels back then, maybe Cupid during, Valentine's Day with the little bow and arrow, or maybe St. Michael at a Catholic church on occasion. But other than that, I knew nothing about angels. And then once I learned about angel numbers and connecting and feathers, and signs, it was like no going back. But again, it didn't happen. I actually went and took a week-long course in California, how to talk to angels. I got nothing the whole week. Zero. Zero. And the teacher said, all right, don't give up if you got nothing. Because I was in my head. I know now I was in my head. And so on the way back from California to Florida, the teacher would pair us up at people. And so when it was my turn to get read from this girl, my spirit guide, she said, you have a spirit guide named Ralph. And I was like, Ralph, mine can't be like some exotic name. It had to be Ralph. Really? Okay. So I'm back on the plane and I'm like pissed off. I got nothing. I spent all this money and wasted my time. Anyway, and then all of a sudden I said, Ralph, if you really exist, prove it to me. Because I come from corporate too, by the way. So I'm like, all of a sudden I hear a stewardess say, hey, Ralph, hand me a soda. And I'm like, then I hear a mother yelling at her kid, sit down, Ralph. And I'm like, and then when they used to have the magazines in the front pocket, I look it out and I open it up and my eye locks into the name Ralph. And I'm like, holy shoot. And years later, even when I used to teach workshops of psychic development, if I didn't talk to him like too often, my students would be like, anybody know a Ralph? I'm like, that bugger.
That is so impressive.
I don't go to other people if I ignore them.
Yeah. And what a gift for you to have the guidance. I mean, I luckily there's a medical intuitive shaman here, actually in the Twin Cities, who's just incredible, who sees what I see and we compare notes. I've worked with them for 20 some years. But
Love it.
gosh, it's like a grooming. You were groomed to do what you're doing.
You're right. And I didn't realize until my grandma was passed and, everybody's starting to get older, how good I had it. Like I could just anytime pick up the phone, go drive there. I mean, because even today I have a podcast and I was having this couple and telling them, oh yeah, we had a spirit we had to get rid of. And the girl's like, spirit? What are you talking about? I'm like, what? You don't know how to do that? Like, I just assume everybody knows how to do that kind of stuff, being in that family. You just like, at Thanksgiving, instead of pass the stuffing, it's like, oh, your dead person's here, or you're going to meet them. I thought everybody was like that.
Yeah. And the fact that it's accepted in your family, that's so lovely. I mean, in my family, my husband, my kids, I mean, my husband, knowing I've been seeing spirits for over 20 years, he's like, oh, okay. And now he's like, he's on for the ride. I mean, it's just like, it is, it is, it is, I'd love to hear from you. What you would say are your psychic intuitive gifts today, how you work with people, and also, and this kind of maybe a 3-part question, but then like how you might suggest people to start opening into it. But for you, what does this look like day to day in your life?
Sure. Sorry, I got it. Sure. So for me, I mean, I'm going to say this quickly. There's 4 main ways you can receive. Well, actually, there's more than that. There's 6 main ways you can receive messages from spirit. There's seeing, clairvoyance, knowing, and there's feeling, and actually there's taste and smell. I, over the years, have grown to possess all of them. I should say they're called primary psychic senses, because when people say, I'm a clairvoyant, and I giggle because I say that means they can only see. They can't hear, they can't know, they can't feel. So I wouldn't say I'm a clairvoyant. I would just say I'm intuitive, I'm a psychic, channeler. So then you possess all the clairs. But actually, actually today it evolved over the years because I used to be the angel person, and people would come to me to connect with their angels and their spirit guides. And so that was my forte. I taught, oh, golly, thousands of students over the years how to channel their angels, how to talk to them, from 1 hour classes to weekend workshops and in between. And then I started teaching other courses, even though I don't like mediumship. Yes, I taught people how to do that too. And then trans channeling classes. And today, what's interesting is I'll call it spirit guided me to kind of focus more on love more than ever, even though people call me for that relationship. But what I'm noticing is they call me initially because their ex was a jerk and whatever the trendy words are at the moment. But what I'm seeing is once we start talking for 5 minutes, it doesn't really have anything to do with the person they're calling me about.
Mm.
What I'm noticing is we're going back to their childhood trauma. And that's where I'm noticing the guides are wanting them to start to heal the process because they're going to still manifest the same type of person. Maybe they're a different name, maybe they look different. But I find that now they're guiding me more to help the people to get out of those patterns of repeating the same thing over and over again, working on themselves, healing themselves, because that's where it starts. So it's interesting. I have to say, this has only been the last year and a half that this has really evolved. And I would say I have probably about 30 clients a week now that I to connect with because everybody wants love, no matter what age, culture, gay, straight, country. It doesn't matter. Everybody is looking for love. But at the end of the day, you and I both know it's self-love. Because I have a decent sized platform now and all the social media platforms, and I do post 4 love readings a day, but I didn't start that way. One day my daughter was visiting from school. She's a medical school, and she came home and she's very psychic too. She won't tell her medical students, but she will use gifts during medical school and her patients in the future. Anyway, she said, Mom, you should go on TikTok. I'm like, TikTok? I thought that was for dancers and singers. And she's like, no, Ma, all my roommates, they watch psychics on TikTok. So I started to watch and I hired a coach and then my account took off. But I will tell you, I didn't know what to do yet. And the coach is like, you got to niche down, you got to niche down. And I was kind of holding on to the old. Does that sound familiar? You know, what we used to, but I kept hearing, you got to do new things now. So I have to say, I did my angel numbers and I got hundreds of thousands of hits on those videos, but I was not booking anybody. Then I was watching other TikTokers that were getting millions of hits on their videos and they were all doing love. And I'm like, I'm just naturally good at it. I probably should try that. Of course, Spirit told me to do it because I channeled. So I started to do some videos where I channel. I use angel tarot cards. And let me tell you, boom, that's where my bread and butter is today. I fell into it, so to speak. And my talent now seems to be where I write a person's name down and I talk to their higher self. So let's say a girl named Sally is calling me she wants to find out about her boyfriend or whoever. I write the person's name and then I get down, I start talking, it was kind of even interesting the other day. I kind of checked out as trans channeling and I let her talk to her, even though they'd been broken up like 6 months, but it was a healing for her because she got closure through it. So that's just a technique, to be honest, I fell into. I didn't plan this. I'm curious to see what's next. I'm starting to work with some love dating coaches. And I have some other things in the meditation album I'm working on. So these things, because I felt I'm one of those that I want to help people more. Like I'm bringing to their attention what the trauma is. And I also now am working with psychiatrists and such people that have mental health issues, but I want to give them what's next. Okay, now that there's awareness, where do they go from here? And that's what I feel is my next steps, if that makes sense.
That's beautiful. Yeah, just beautiful. I also have a private practice, and I would say that it's a lot of family origin, trauma work, and the number one theme is love. And when I was with thousands of people dying with them right next to them when they took their last breath, it was love. That's all people wanted was love. And love is, I think that's the reason we're here on this earth, is to learn to love and to open our heart and grow more. And I think that's what we take with us when we die, is our ability to love. when you were opening up and keep hearing the guidance, like for example, what you were just sharing about moving more towards love and work with love, I'm curious, were you also opening up in prayer, intention, words, like help me, guide me? I'm wondering if that's part of your path.
1000%, especially when it's public. I don't call it a religion, but I pray all day long. I talk to spirit all day long. I think because it's like brushing your teeth to me now. I've been doing it for so long. It's, for instance, I wake up at like 5:30, 6 a.m. And I immediately, before I even get out of bed, I already have my, say, you know who, the Amazon thing. I'll say, put on spiritual music, and I'm then going into my mantras, like being grateful before I even jump out of bed. I am thankful. I just wake up to like thanking universe, God, angel, my guides, my ancestors. And I just kind of start that off before I even get out of bed. Sometimes if I have time, I'll do a guided meditation and try to like, meditate. And then I do walking meditation.
Mhm.
That helps me stay centered and I'm grateful. I try not to like listen to news. No, I don't do any of that. I kind of like talk to the trees and like even
Mhm.
this morning I'm talking to the trees and people are like, this girl's nuts, with the plants
Uh,
and the animals. And again, that's about an hour walk. And then I come back and I light where am I? Backwards. Oop, this way. So the other way. I have candles. I light my candles. I'm praying and I do some sage and I have incense here. And then I just got some new angel cards in the mail. I was doing a little thing for me, but it's constant. And I ask for things, and I don't know about you, but lately it's almost freaky how fast it happens. I don't know what's going on, but I think, okay, silly example. I needed to go get my lashes done, and you can't cancel before 24 hours. Otherwise, you get charged, right? I'll admit this. At 9 a.m. My appointment's at 10, and I'm like, all right, God, can you like, I don't want anything to happen to the girl, but I just don't feel like going to the appointment. I swear to you, 2 minutes later, ring, ring. Hello. Deirdre, I'm so sorry, but your practitioner is stuck in traffic right now, and she's going to be a half hour late, and she wants to give you your full hour. Do you mind coming in next week?
That's so good.
Because I'm in alignment with the
Yep,
flow.
yep.
Is that, I mean, silly things like that. And the more you're
Mhm.
in alignment, being grateful and thankful. And I talk to my angels and guides and all day long. It's not like, I think for people, if you do like, it's like brushing your teeth a couple of times a day versus once a month. What would happen to your
Mhm.
teeth? Yeah?
Yikes. Yikes.
Just,
I resonate with what you're saying because I do the same thing in the morning when I wake up. The first thing I do is just habit. I have some moments of gratitude, thankfulness, of just, I think, oh my gosh, I'm alive. I'm so grateful, family,
yes.
friends. But then there's so much out there about gratitude, but then I feel it. I feel the vibration in my body. I feel the presence of God, the divine moving through me. I have some prayers. I see the flow of my day. This is minutes before I even get out of bed. And then I'm like you, talking to God, my angels, all day long, before every client, at night. It's just that is the anchor. And that, I mean, that's why I'm here. Yeah.
I love it. Hey, I finally found somebody like
I
myself.
know what you're saying. I'm like, oh my gosh, exactly.
I love it because
Mhm.
right sometimes especially when you first start out, and you're right. I think there's something said when you are close to death. Because I remember years ago seeing a therapist because I'm like, am I crazy or am I just, I knew my family was psychic, and the therapist said to me, Deirdre, what you went through, you got a taste of death and things are going to be different for you. And it's so true. I can't tell for you, but yes, it's nice to have a roof over my head and I like lovely things, but you prioritize life more, experiences,
Yep. Yeah.
people more.
100%. I had a near death experience actually in my 30s on a Time Warner corporate trip, whitewater rafting, and life changing. I mean, this white light around my body, this voice saying, living or dying of fine, and just a letting go. I survived it. And I was one of the top salespeople for Time Magazine. And I'm like, I'm done. This isn't it. This isn't where I'm being called. I need to listen and pray and journal and meditate. And then everything started flowing through me to this day.
Love it because you listen to your calling, your purpose.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think once we do that, as long as we continue to check in and we go with the flow, everything just
Yep,
flows right in.
absolutely. Well, I'm hearing every week, I see a lot of clients every week, one-on-one sessions. I'm hearing a lot of people say the chaos of the world, the dysregulation, and then they're feeling chaotic and dysregulated. Just curious what you would have to say to people listening right now about how to live in the world today.
Good question. Dysregulation is a huge one, especially for those of us that are very empathic,
Mm-hmm.
very sensitive to our surroundings. I think what today is because we're the instant error. Amazon, okay, hit the button, it's at our door in hours, right? So I think what happens is to do what you and I do, is not go on your phone. Be in gratitude, put on some spiritual music, and I'm going to say three words, the same word. Meditate, meditate, meditate.
Yep.
Those are three that when you start meditating, even me, I'm human. Okay. Hey, I know what was a couple of weeks ago, I was doing too many things at once and I felt unbalanced and I was starting to feel sick because it's mind, body, spirit is all,
Mhm.
interconnected. I went, wait, I'm a medit. Oh, I tell everybody else to meditate. I got to walk my talk. Once I took 15 minutes and got in the zone of meditation, I felt like a rock star. A couple of things to watch. What are you watching? Who are you hanging out with? What drinks are you drinking? It's not just a one thing. It's because, especially women, we're very sensitive. Who are you hanging out with? You have to be
Mhm.
cautious. I'm sure we all have exes from the past since I'm in love. Everybody talks about it all day long. But the best thing to do is spend time alone, is to actually, that's how the quickest way to regulate is to be by yourself.
I agree with you. I meditate every day and have some silence, but even 5 minutes of just sitting, standing in silence to just drop in, life changing.
Another thing, the best way and also to just self-regulate, take a nap. Even if it's a 5-minute cat nap, just go right to sleep. Your nervous system relaxes. And again, it's so the dysregulation is because everybody is so like on the go, on the go, on the go, on the go. A lot of noise. I call it Vegas or Times Square, it's like overload. But my kids are at school. I live alone now, so I can really go into myself now pretty quickly. But it's hard when you have family of 10.
So would you say for you, your favorite practice would it be meditating or breathing or walking in nature? Do you have a favorite practice that just drops you in quickly and calms your body?
Well, the most practical is napping and meditation, depending.
Mhm.
Like even between clients, I allow myself 15 minutes or half an hour sometimes. And if I know it's a big day, like yesterday, I had 8 clients in a row. So to be fair to them and be fair to me, instead of like, because I was so like, oh, I should go do that. No, I said, I heard no, go sit on the couch. And I put on through my music, just some tranquil music, had some fresh water, and then I was ready for the next one. That's how I was able to sustain that many people. That's the only way I could do it.
That sounds great. I think for everyone listening, just finding what for you is it breathing, meditating, somatic, a body movement. There's just many different ways. A self-soothing, putting
Yoga.
your hands, yoga, putting your hands on your chest. What is it for you that can help you just drop into that calmness? Do you also work with, I just have to ask, I'm just curious, energy boundaries. I'm so empathic. I've been doing this for over 20 years, again, habit, where I sense and feel energy. If it's in person, it's right now talking with you. I can feel it and how much I'm so conscious, how much I take in or don't take in, especially with the chaos of the world. Is that part of your life and your practice?
Well, I have always felt energy, but I've always been very good at honing it in and honing and kind of putting, because I do a protective white light prayer on me, that I'm very tuned into people's energies, but I know the boundaries, if that makes sense.
Mhm, mhm.
Because I have an aunt who is an extremely gifted medium and she feels everything all the time. And she's always spent her whole life sick. So I knew what not to do. And so as far as the world, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I kind of put myself in a bubble. So
Yep.
when I know there's an election or there's a lot of negative news, I don't put it on. I don't
Mhm.
care if I'm at a dinner party and I sound like the stupidest person in the room, but guess what? I'm not taking on what's going on out there. Now, certain people I'll watch because I feel more in alignment, but if I'm feeling off, I just isolate.
And I love the bubble, or you could do mirrors. What I do every day is I set an intention. So I in the morning say I'm going to send 70, 80%, 90% love and take in nothing. And for me, because I'm wildly empathic and sensitive, I say 90. So I say I'm going to send 90% love, receive 10, and like zoom, I can see and feel my whole energy system set up. And it's just breathing room.
I bet your primary, as they call it, is clairsentience, which is most people, which they channel through their feelings. What's your sign? I'm curious.
And I see spirits like right now. I see spirit. I see spirits every day. I have to sometimes shut it out. So I'm a Leo.
Oh, well, that's why you get along. I'm your polar opposite. I'm an Aquarius.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I find a lot of Cancers, water signs that are also very empathic.
Mm,
So I'm a feeler, but maybe because of my family being so overly, I've like made sure that I extra cleanse myself. Also, a practice I do, I take a shower in the morning at night, and it
mm,
cleanses my energy. There's something with water that just heightens my abilities, cleanse. Not only is it physically cleansing me, but I'm also clearing my mind, body, and soul. People say, well, why do you need a shower in the morning? Well, because our spirits leave the body at night, and we could be helping other, depending on what dimension, where we're going, we could be a warrior in another dimension and come back. So there's just something where I don't know, when I skip like if I wait till later on that day to take a shower, I feel off. And even
mhm, mhm.
even though I know I'm clean, I'm going to take a shower again
Yeah. And I'm
because
the same way. But I take a bath. I take a bath every morning for just a few minutes because, like, oh, comforting. And then at night, most nights, I take a bath and I'm conscious sometimes of unplugging, cutting cords, and just, yeah.
see, I like more shower standing on my head, and then that's when I visualize the white light around from the tip of my toes to the top
Mm,
of my head, and then I kind of extend the light outward to surround my immediate space to the town, and I go all the way. That's just something I've been doing for years, and it just kind of lifts my day. The way I think that I've protected myself from being overly energized. But I
mhm.
will say that like the other day, somebody was like, oh, you need to do this, that, and the other. And when I hung up the phone, I was like, why am I feeling like this? And I heard, just because I'm teasing enough, I heard, just because they're Vegas and you're Cape Cod, but that's what I heard. And I went,
That
okay.
that's so good. No, I see spirits every day, and I also auditory get a lot. I hear a lot and get a lot of guidance. So, for people listening, any suggestions for how they can start tapping into their gift? I mean, we've already said meditate, meditate, silence. Any other thoughts to share on that?
Sure. I mean, golly, I've taught hundreds of classes over the years. When I first started, I don't have it handy, but go get yourself Oracle deck. Angel, you don't have
Mm.
to study tarot. Get yourself a simple deck from hayhouse.com or Amazon, and just start playing with the angel cards. Start simple. Actually, I don't know who the author
Yeah,
is.
tell us which deck maybe, because I have bought a few over the years, but there are a lot out there.
This is Radley Valentine. It's Hay House, and it's a kind of bridge you into Angel Tarot. You don't have to study Tarot. He's very lighthearted. It was originally written with Doreen Virtue, but she no longer practices, so he just did it for himself. But don't judge. What I did back in the day, because we didn't have Amazon, is I would go to a bookstore, metaphysical store, and I would just kind of put my hands
Yep, yep,
all
yep.
kind of thing. And even today, I got it was on Amazon. It was like angel numbers. And I was like, oh,
Mm,
and I even did a little reading for myself. So I would
hmm.
go online and oh, that's hysterical. I guess they want you guys to know 111 that you're in alignment, so that you're man.
Yeah, I see 111 multiple times a day.
And if you see on my shelf, I have 1111 right there.
Oh, I love
You're in
it. I
alignment,
love it.
but start there. And another thing
Hmm.
is go get some friends. Everybody wants a free reading, right? I started out with the angel cards. And what I
Mhm.
would do is I would be like, okay, angels, what do I need to know? And yes, you can do the formal way, but I just literally shuffle.
Yeah,
First
yeah, yeah.
is I pray and I ask for Archangel Michael to be around me. I envision white light from the tip of my toes to the top of my head. And like I said, I visualize this white light going outward. Then I begin. And then all of a sudden, I'm in alignment with my angels, the spirit guides, beings in light. And you can think of a question in your head or say it out loud or write it down. And then all of a sudden, the best vibe is they'll say, you'll feel like stop. And then you put it.
Mhm.
Now there
Yep,
are formal spreads you can do, but the cards are kind of like a
yep.
beginner. And then
Thank you. This is great.
yeah, oh, absolutely. And then what I started to do is like flashcards when we were kids, I would put my hand, oh, that's a good practice too. Go to the dollar store and go get like numbers and letters. And I would put my hand over it and practice to see if I would be able to channel what number it was or
Mhm.
letter. And that honed my skills in. And
Yep, that is so good.
and then also, the best thing to do is to read people you don't know because I
Mm.
can't tell you if you'll be like me, you start to like, oh, I already knew that about them, so I don't trust it. But it's better to just read somebody you don't know and just deliver messages. Don't hold back. That was something I learned years ago. Just keep saying it over and over again, even if they're doing one of these. No, that's not. Well, you know, right? How many years you've been doing this?
Yeah, yeah, years. Yeah,
Right.
no, I love this. This is great. I just have to say, I don't know if you do this, but working with rocks and crystals, I've been collecting them 20 some years ago. My favorite, I have so many, but angelite, calming rock, and a huge angelite rock, like almost fell off at a rock store. And I picked it up. And that is when holding that every day is when my vision opened up. It was amazing.
Good point. When I teach my 3-day workshop, another good one, I don't have any handy, but clear quartz crystal, you can put it
Mm.
on your third eye for a third eye opening. Yes, you can hold them in your hand. It's like an antenna. There's many, and like you said, go with your gut because maybe an amethyst works for me, and you need clear quartz crystal for you, or maybe you need heart opening, rose quartz, and on and on. But yeah, and you can even go buy crystals now, like at Whole Foods Market, right?
Yep, yep. Or even going to a rock store. This is what I do when I feel the nudging. It's like, you got to go to a rock store. And then I go to the rock store and I look around. And one or two just jump off. Like, you just have to take me home. This is the energy.
Yeah, now home goods. I bought
Mm,
crystals. Home goods.
wow.
Yeah, they when they certain time of year they get shipments in. Yeah, they really good deals on these beautiful big crystals I have.
Wow. Well, I feel like we could talk another hour straight, but I want to end with this question for you. I'm curious to ask you, what does awakening mean to you?
Oh, thank you for asking. Awakening to me is that pivotal moment when you had this undeniable knowingness of something bigger than you, greater than you, the unknown, and you know it's not you. Is that pivotal time is when you have your big awakening to spirit, to the universe, and whatever else is out there. That's what I consider an awakening.
Mm, so beautiful. Thank you. And it's so fun to talk to you. What a delight. You're such a bright light. This is such a fun conversation. I hope this is some good takeaways for people listening. So thank you so much for joining today. I'd love to have you on again.
Well, thank you so much, Catherine, for having me on your show, and I wish you all the best of luck on your new adventures.
Thank you. And you too, with all the great work you're doing in the world. Thank you so much for joining Everyday Awakening. Let's keep the conversation going online. You can follow me on Instagram at Catherine Duncan, MABCC. And to keep up to date on the show, subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. I'd love to hear from you.